The financial services industry in South Africa, and particularly the investment industry, has changed somewhat in the last decade, I'd say. I joined this industry over 20 years ago, first in the accounting field and then moving on to the investment field. And while there are still some characteristics that are still firmly entrenched, like it being male-dominated, particularly white male-dominated, we're starting to see that shift. But the shift is slow. And therefore, the work that I've tried to do in ABSIP and out of ABSIP as well has really tried to see how we can accelerate that pace of change. I think it's fundamental that we see an industry where there's just true representation. It's an absolute loss to the industry, both financial services and the investment industry, to not have women featured and contributing at a high level and at all levels in the value chain. So it's not even a matter of if and why. It's 2018. This is the reality we need to ensure is built and continues to be grown at an even faster pace. Women face many challenges in the financial service industry. The interesting thing about these challenges is that they tend to be much more deep-rooted than they are perhaps on the surface. And many of these challenges are hard to overcome because they're this deep-rooted. One of perhaps my experiences of the most critical challenges that women face is the whole notion of bias that is quite unconsciously spread. We seem to have come from a past globally and locally in South Africa that speaks about competence coming in a package that appears to be male. And in South Africa that lens is added and that it appears to be a white male package. So we spend most of our time not just in the job of being competent at what we do, because clearly there is no competence gap. There are women that are equally, if not more, qualified to do the work. However, they struggle to get the recognition and they struggle to get the opportunity to ascend. And largely that's because there's a perception perhaps that exists in an environment that appears to be disabling to the acceleration and the advancement of women. So the real challenge is to try and break that stigma. But this doesn't happen quickly, this happens slowly, and it also requires a real consciousness from the top. This is clearly an unexpected honor. I think most of people who do things that are of service to their colleagues and the industry and the country at large don't do this for any special recognition. But it is always gratifying to be recognized, particularly because it's by your peers and by people who feel you've made a difference. The interesting thing though is when you have an award of this nature and you are recognized, it also means that it comes with a greater obligation to do even more. So I also see this as an extra push to say, well done on what you've done, but continue doing it.